everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So we are in Santa Rosa, New Mexico. We've stopped to get some showers, but then we're going to hit it again hard and get to Phoenix by this evening to drop this load. I don't have a pre-plan yet, but hopefully we'll get something out of there. We may end up deadheading over to California because there's a lot more stuff over there to move. But anyway, yeah, the weather's been pretty good. Cold but sunny, no complaints. I drove across Tennessee and Arkansas yesterday, and then Paul took over and got us out here. So he's done with his shift. He's in getting a shower, so we're doing okay. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of things, but first I wanted to mention a place that I've gone by the exit for several times, and you probably have too. It's on I-40 east of Memphis is where the exit is, and it's an exit for a place called Fort Pillow, like Pillow State Park. But the sign really doesn't give you a clue, if you don't know much about Fort Pillow, that it was an actual fort and there was some significant combat there during the Civil War. And Fort Pillow is really known for what is called the Fort Pillow Massacre. And by 1864, the Union had enlisted a number of regiments or battalions of free black men to fight. They were called colored troops. And by the way, there's a colored troop cemetery. It's called the Lincoln Cemetery in Gettysburg. It's not near the National Cemetery, but it is there, and it's still preserved and still cared for by townspeople. But anyway, so there was this colored regiment that was part of the garrison at Fort Pillow. And at Fort Pillow, there were about 600 Union troops. Well, in April of 1864, Lieutenant General Nathan Bedford Forrest decided that he wanted to interrupt Union supply lines in Tennessee and Kentucky. And Fort Pillow was about 40 miles north of Memphis on the Mississippi. And so Forrest surrounded the garrison. Again, the garrison was about 600 people, with around estimates range from like 1,800 to 2,400 Confederate troopers, cavalry troopers, and they kind of laid siege to the fort. A sniper's bullet killed the commanding officer of the Union garrison, and his executive officer said, "Hey, let's have a ceasefire." Well, Bedford Forrest decided not to, because he thought there were, or believed there were Union reinforcements coming. So he decided not to honor the ceasefire, which he didn't have to. And he said, "Hey, we're gonna attack." And so, like 20 minutes later, they started their attack, and they quickly overran the fort. And the executive officer basically entered into his own personal retreat, meaning he ran towards the Mississippi River. But the rest of the troops in the garrison basically were overwhelmed and surrendered. But what happened next is really why Fort Pillow is so noteworthy. The Confederates basically segregated the white and black troops and began to massacre the black troops. And they killed about pretty much all of them, about 300 men who were not under arms and who were surrendering. Now, Bedford Forrest justified this by saying, well, the garrison commander never surrendered the garrison, and so we were just, continuing the fight. The problem with that, first of all, supposing for a moment that you didn't know that Nathan Bedford Forrest was a virulent racist and had helped found the Ku Klux Klan and he was a slaveholder. Supposing for a moment you didn't know any of that. his excuse still doesn't pass the smell test, because anybody that's been in the armed forces knows when somebody's not under arms and they're surrendered, they're a prisoner of war, right? If they were an enemy combatant and they indicate that they want to surrender, that's it. You know, if you kill them after that, that's considered a war crime. And so, you know, this was a massacre of men who were surrendering or surrendered. And it really outraged people on the Union side. And in fact, it stopped prisoner exchanges, because back then, what they would typically do is, if Bedford Forrest, and this is one of the reasons he wanted to capture troops and everything, was so he could trade them for Confederate troops. You know, kind of like in checkers, I guess, when you get some of your pieces back or whatever, you get your checkers back. And that was the idea. They would do these prisoner exchanges. That way, you know, because there weren't a lot of formal prison camps, even though I did talk about Andersonville down in Georgia one time. And so they just did these exchanges. Well, then the Union refused to exchange any prisoners after that, because they were like, no, we're not, you know, we're not playing. And again, this happened about a year before the war ended. Nothing was really ever done about it, to be honest, other than what I just described. But that's the reason Fort Pillow is a noteworthy place for that massacre, for that war crime. So anyway, wanted to talk about Payback. And so I had a chance to pay back something the other day. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time. You know, I've kind of mentioned this over the past little bit, but it really just, you know, chaps my ass when people with bobtails park in the big truck parking. Especially when it's so easy to park a bobtail almost anywhere. Like, you can basically park in a car spot out in front of the truck stop. And you certainly don't need to take up a whole big space. You can find a little tiny space. No one's going to bother you. You know, it's not cool when you take up a big truck space. So I had a chance to basically pay those bitches back.
All right, so I'm walking out to my truck here. I want to show you this. This is bobtail parking. Look at me, man. Taking up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots. Take that, bitches. All these guys park their bobtails in the big truck spots. Well, I'm screwing them. Maybe not. It's only like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But another guy with a big truck's got the same idea.
Yeah, that's right. I stuck it to all those bobtails. Okay, so payback of another kind. So my last video, I talked about the travails that we had with this trailer that we had to cut the leg off of, and it was just kind of a debacle. But I will say this. My fleet manager takes care of me, and I appreciate that. I didn't say a word to him, and he made sure that with 2 different ways of kind of accounting for it, he got me $1,357 on this week's settlement for all that debacle with the trailer. So I got paid for the load, taking the load up to Bedford Park, you know, up to Chicago. But I got paid for the extra for the deadhead to go from the turn. Basically, he paid me for the deadhead from Springfield to Liberal, Kansas. I got paid for the load, and then he paid me additional money just for dealing with the brain damage with the trailer. He paid me like $750. So, you know, settlement was today. I had a great settlement. You know, net to the truck over $5,000 for the week. And really, the only thing that I'm not, you know, ecstatic about is that I wasn't getting miles for Paul. But we're on the road. We're running out west. We're going to go run the West Coast a little bit if we can, and get some, you know, get some loads where we can just high-speed steam back and forth across the United States. So yeah, I mean, if we're going to try to get behind storms when we can, and you know, just make our way and get him some miles so he can move on to his own truck. So I think he's still thinking he wants to lease, but we'll find out when it's time for an upgrade. So anyway, just wanted to check in with you. We're here in the land of enchantment. It is one of my favorite places in America, New Mexico. It's just a great state for lots of reasons. There's just a lot of great stuff here. I just love it. It's a beautiful state. People are nice. It's just really, and it's pretty unique, and it's you know, it's a look back at civilization for, man, a long time, you know. And just like if you go up to Mesa Verde National Park, you can see what people were doing in, you know, the 2nd century or whatever, here in the Americas. So anyway, be safe. We'll catch up with you. We're gonna get out there and get a little warmth, I think, when we get down in the valley, and drop this load off in Phoenix, and then we'll update you at that point. So talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Oh, by the way, I want to give a shout out to our friend Kyle. Kyle's a guy that subscribes. He went to high school with my son, but he works with my daughter now. So thanks for tuning in, Kyle. I appreciate you. And yeah, we'll be back soon, and stay tuned. There's more to come. Thanks. Bye.